So if he came in here right now and sat down next to you,
I don't know, like that's a scenario that is so highly unlikely to happen that I can't even really, you know what I mean?
well, him and Mob James were in the room not too long ago, in the same room, not my room, but the two of them are talking about doing an interview together. You know, and
with Vlad, they're gonna do it.
Maybe. There's different scenarios that have been talked about. They might do it on Vlad TV. They might do it on the Gangster Chronicles.
Yeah.
Who knows? Keefe's not the easiest person to deal with. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
You know, so usually he's the bottleneck in the situation. The interview that I did took months of continuous work to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
With a lot of, you know, missing meetings and false starts and everything else like that. But Mob James described being in the room with Keefe D for the first time in decades. And, you know, he described it one way. I talked to Keefe. He said that's not the way it actually went. He described it a slightly different way. But ultimately, what is established is the two of them were in the same room together and no violence happened.
That's good.
They talked. Everyone was polite.
Right.
There was no violence or even animosity. These are two men that are in their 50s and 60s, I believe.
Right.
They've all been involved with a lot of violence and death. You know, Mob James on camera even told me about how he killed somebody in self-defense. Someone rolled up on him and started shooting. He returned fire, and I think a 16-year-old got killed. You killed someone in self-defense?
Yeah.
Okay, we've never gone over this story.
Yeah, me and my little brother, well, we was all in the hood hanging out. This van keep coming back and forth. You remember that? Kept coming back and forth, back and forth. So we hit the corner, got our pistols, and we post up. So we see the van again. I'm like, just let me hit to the house. So I zoomed to the house. And when I get out of my Cadillac, here come this van. So he go to do a bust to you, then went up to the dead end and then come back. By the time he come back, I'm in my front yard. We waiting on him. So the dudes start popping at us. So we start popping back at them. So it's 3 motherfuckers in this van, 4 in this van. So when they start popping, we start popping. One of the guys in the van get hit. And the shooting stopped, but we still shooting. So by the time they get to Martin Luther King, the police already on us and shit. I had a jerry curl the whole 9. And the kids, one was 14, the one that got killed was 16.
And they established that it was a self-defense situation, and who knows what else he did that he's never going to talk about on camera. Keefe D was obviously around a lot of death and violence and destruction also. No one wants to bang it out into their senior
man,
ages.
We've all seen enough of that, man. We all been around death and despair, you know, and that should be, in my opinion, the last thing on any grown man's mind, unless you talking about defending yourself and your family.
Yeah.
At this point in the game, you know what I mean? So Keefe D walk in the room like, I'm not finna jump up and attack that man. You know what I mean? And, you know, but I will defend myself. I'm gonna defend myself in any scenario.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To the best of my ability, because I gotta go home. I'm going home at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, when you get to a certain point in your life, that should be like the last thing, the last kind of energy you want around you. You know what I mean? And most, you know, most people that make it to that point, like you just said earlier, like you thankful to be alive. Most people that make it to that point, they don't want that energy around them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I felt it was important to do that interview because that is the last.
I hope it gave some people closure.
Yeah.
You know
I think
it
gave people closure. The conspiracy theorists, the government killed him. You know, the first responder had an extra body in the back, like all that type of stuff. You know, Suge did it.
And we've talked about this before. It's just some people that's just gonna want to hold on to that because
Right.
that's what gets them out of the bed in the morning.
Yeah.
That's
You know, oh, Suge's son said Pac's still alive. Well, he
Right.
would know, obviously, because that's Suge's son.
and it flares up every
And it
few
flares
years.
up.
It dies
He's
down,
in
then it'll
Arizona.
flare back up.
There's a
Yeah.
guy in India that kind of looks like him.
Yeah, I think it was some guy who was talking about doing a movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It flares up, man.
It flares up, and I felt like, okay, here is the firsthand account of the only living person in the car that did the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. It's consistent with every other person who's told this story.
Yeah.
There you go.
What more do you want?
What more do you want?
What more do you want?